I'm Kurma, and welcome. In this series, we're going to show you how to cook a wide variety of international vegetarian cuisine from over 30 countries. And in this edition, we're going to show you how to prepare the second in a series of 3 North Indian lunches, consisting of Gujarati yogurt soup, kadhi, peanut and coriander chutney, North Indian curried cauliflowers and potato, simple green beans, and soft cakes in strawberry yogurt, malpura. So, let's begin. Gujarati yogurt soup, kadhi, is a smooth yogurt-based dish much akin to a soup from Gujarat, northwestern India. It's based on 3 very simple ingredients: yogurt, water, and chickpea flour. The first thing we're going to do is to mix our chickpea flour in our bowl with a little bit of water, just a little bit. If you were to add the whole batch of water, the flour has a tendency to lump. So just that much for a start, and mix it together with a whisk until a paste is formed, like so. And you'll notice that all the lumps of flour disappear. Now we can add the rest of the required quantity of water, and into that we can add our yogurt, like so. Give it a mix, and we add our turmeric powder, our sugar, and our salt. Once again, we give it a whisk until it's all dissolved, especially all that turmeric is all melted away, like so. Now this forms the basis of our kadhi soup. Now we're going to take it over to our little pot here and heat it up. Turn on the flame to medium and start to cook it. This kadhi sauce requires a little bit of attention when you're cooking. You need to use a good solid-based pot without stirring. This sometimes has a tendency to stick. So get a nice wooden spoon that has a flat bottom, and slow rhythmic stirring is required until it comes to the boil. When it comes to the boil, we're going to add our final seasoning, and that's it. So you can see it's a very simple dish. It only requires a few utensils and a little bit of your time. It's interesting to note that chickpea flour is an incomplete protein, but when combined with yogurt, it becomes complete. Kadhi, therefore, is a very high protein dish. Not only that, it's very wonderful for the digestive system. It digests very easily, and it actually has the ability to help other things digest. I've always found that if I'm eating a full meal, if there's kadhi in it, along with other heavy dishes, everything digests very nicely. It's quite miraculous. Yeah. And after 5 minutes of slow rhythmic stirring, our kadhi is coming to the boil. What is required now is to turn it down to a very low simmer, and the last thing we have to do is to prepare our final zesty seasoning. We're going to saute some spices in our little ladle here. This adds a beautiful zesty punch to our Gujarati yogurt soup. We've got some safflower oil, which we're going to heat up here until it gets very hot. And the first spice we're going to fry is our mustard seeds. The green chilies. The fresh ginger. Curry leaves. Now, it'll take a few seconds for those curry leaves to darken. When they start to change their colour from a greeny colour to a brownish colour, you can help them along a bit by pushing them under the surface like this. Then it's time to add our fenugreek seeds. Be careful when you add fenugreek seeds, don't burn them. They should just change colour slightly, like so. Finally, our yellow asafoetida powder, and this is all ready to go into our yogurt soup, like so. our final zesty seasoning. Gujarati yogurt soup, curry, and a big plate of hot, steaming basmati rice. A chutney is a piquant Indian relish that adds accent to a meal. The chutney that we're preparing next is a popular North Indian chutney from the Punjab state and is made from fresh herbs, fresh coriander precisely, with a hint of roasted peanuts and coconut and a dash of tamarind. Very, very delightful, meal-enhancing variety of chutney, which is very, very easy to prepare. Let's have a look at some of our ingredients here, shall we? We've got a tablespoon of tamarind concentrate, 1/4 of a cup of hot water, a tablespoon of peanut oil. We've got 1/2 of a cup of raw peanuts that have been shelled. We've got some coconut. This is fresh shredded coconut, 1/3 of a cup, a teaspoon of salt, 2 hot green chilies that have been minced, a tablespoon of brown sugar, and here in the centre we've got 1 cup of fresh coriander leaves. The first thing we're going to do is blend up our tamarind concentrate with some warm water. Tamarind is a sour fruit which adds a very nice sour flavour to this chutney. So a little bit of hot water, and we're going to whisk it up with our little mini whisk here. We just really need to break up some of those little lumps. Our food processor will do the rest. There, I think that'll do the job. Let's put it back on our spice tray. Now the next thing we need to do is to roast our peanuts. These are raw peanuts. I found that roasting your own peanuts actually improves the flavour of this chutney. So I've got a little steel pan here, and in goes our peanuts. Now we have to roast these for 3 or 4 minutes until they go a nice golden brown. You can tell when they're done, they change their colour and a very strong peanut aroma comes out of them. And our peanuts are sufficiently roasted now. Let's pop our coconut in on top. And we'll toast that now for about a minute, just to extract some of that nice coconut flavour. Well, this is the only cooking that's required in this chutney, actually. The coconut and the peanuts are roasted together. In fact, the coconut's done already. Doesn't take very long. Let's pop it all in our food processor now, shall we? Notice how our coconut is golden brown here, and our peanuts also. This adds a really delightful crunch to the chutney. Now, we just have to add all the other ingredients. Salt. We've got our chilies and our brown sugar, our tamarind puree, a little bit of cold water here to juice it all up, and last but not least, the main ingredient, our fresh coriander. And let's blend it all together. Yes, there it is, looking very luscious. Let's transfer it into our nice silver serving bowl, shall we? This is best served immediately. It has that fresh flavour that only a freshly prepared chutney can have. However, if you don't have the facilities to serve it straight away, it will last in the fridge for about 2 to 3 days. This is a real meal-enhancing chutney. Coriander and peanut chutney. Curried cauliflower and potatoes is a typical North Indian vegetable dish, or sabji. In this vegetable, chunks of potatoes and cauliflowers are browned with spices over a strong heat to bring out their rich flavours, and then they're cooked to tenderness with tomatoes. This is a very delicious vegetable dish indeed. Let's have a look at our ingredients here. We've got 3 medium potatoes that have been cut into half-inch cubes, 1 medium-sized cauliflower that's been cut into little florets, and 2 medium-sized tomatoes that have been blanched, peeled and diced. Now, in our spice department over here on our plate, we have 1/4 cup of ghee, half a teaspoon of black mustard seeds, a teaspoon of cumin seeds, a teaspoon of minced fresh ginger, 2 hot green chilies that have been seeded and chopped. We've got a half of a teaspoon of turmeric powder, half of a teaspoon of garam masala, 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, a teaspoon of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and for the final zesty garnish, we've got 2 tablespoons of coarsely chopped coriander leaves and a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. So let's begin by sautéing our spices, shall we, in our 1/4 cup of ghee. I pre-warmed this wok so that ghee should get nice and hot nice and quickly. Let's add our mustard seeds. I cook the mustard seeds until they pop and crackle. Now in goes the cumin seeds, our fresh ginger, and green chilies. We'll sauté these for a few seconds until all the aromas are impregnated into the hot ghee. Now let's put in our potatoes. And our cauliflowers. Now I'm going to stir fry these now for 3 or 4 minutes. Well, as you can see, these cauliflowers and potatoes, after about 4 or 5 minutes, have got a nice, rich, golden brown. We're going to add our tomatoes and our other spices now and cook it down to a rich succulence for a start. In they go. Followed close behind by our turmeric powder. In goes the garam masala. Garam masala adds a lovely hot, sweet flavour to the dish. Some coriander powder, a little bit of brown sugar, 1 lump there, soon to be broken up with our wok scraper. We've got some salt. And we're going to reduce the heat to a simmer, put our lid on top, and keep an eye on this until it's become succulent and full of flavour. And then when the potatoes and the cauliflowers are just nicely done, it'll be ready to go. We're going to add our lemon juice and our fresh coriander. Let's have a little peekaboo here, shall we? Ooh, lovely. Well, I think it's time to add our final seasoning. A little splash of lemon and some fresh coriander leaves to liven it up. Here it is, North Indian cauliflower and potato curry. Succulent. Simple green beans. As the name suggests, this is a very simple to prepare green bean dish from northwestern India, Rajasthan state. As the name suggests also, the main ingredient in today's dish is beans. I've chosen to use this type, very round-bodied bean, nice, fresh and crisp. Notice how crisp they are. And I've cut them, as you can see, in 1-inch pieces like this. This makes for a very succulent vegetable dish. If you choose, you can also use this type of bean, green, wide-bodied ones. These are also stringless. Or you can use these very pretty-looking purple beans. Whatever beans you do use, you'll need to use the proper spices, and over here I've got a selection of simple but nice spices. We've got 2 tablespoons of ghee, clarified butter. We've got 1/2 of a teaspoon of mustard seeds, the brown variety. We've got a half-inch cube of ginger which has been sliced into julienne-sized strips. We've got a quarter of a cup of water. We've got 1/2 of a teaspoon of ground up cumin seeds. We've got a quarter of a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a teaspoon of salt, and to garnish it all we've got 2 tablespoons of minced fresh coriander leaves and a teaspoon of lemon juice. Let's cook now, shall we? Over here we have a little fry pan in which we're going to first of all add our ghee. And the first thing we do, of course, is to saute our mustard seeds. And when the mustard seed starts to crackle and pop, we can add our ginger. In goes the julienne ginger. Saute that for a few seconds, and then in go our green beans. You should saute your green beans for about 5 to 7 minutes. This way they'll become saturated with the ginger-flavoured butter oil. Okay, now let's add our water. Let's pop our lid on and come back when the beans are soft and tender and all the water has evaporated. Okay, they're butter soft. Let's add our final things here. A little bit of salt, some turmeric powder, our ground cumin, a little lemon juice, and some fresh coriander leaves. A quick stir around. And there we have it. Another great idea for a North Indian lunch. Simple green beans. Here's a luscious, stunning dessert. They say a meal is not complete without a sweet, so I think it's fitting that we show you how to make a lovely Indian sweet here. This is actually based on a traditional Indian sweet called malpura. We've got 2 1/4 cups of self-raising flour. I was just sifting that a moment ago. We've got 1 cup of icing sugar, 1 1/4 cups of cold water, 5 cups of fresh, plain, homemade yogurt that's been chilled, 3/4 of a cup of fine granulated sugar, and 1 1/2 cups of strawberries washed and quartered. These are those lovely succulent freshly picked strawberries that I showed you before. Okay, let's start by sifting our icing sugar into our sifted flour through our gigantic sifter here. It's important to actually sift your ingredients. This makes a lighter mixture. So to that we're going to add a little bit of water. Maybe all of this. We'll see how much we need. Not too much at a time. We just have to get in there and pour in enough water to make a very thick batter. And try not to spill it all across the bench top. That helps. Okay, a little more water. Goodness, I'm making a mess here today. Not like me at all. Let's keep stirring it in there. Okay, a little more. I think we might just need all that. I always tend to add a little less at a time than what's required, because once you add too much, it's all over. Okay, I think that's looking fabulous. Now we're going to beat it to a pulp, as they say. Like so. It's lovely. Before we leave this aside to rise a little bit, we're going to add a little bit of plain yogurt, just maybe another teaspoonful. That helps the raising activity of the rising agent in the flour. So our batter needs to sit for about 10 minutes now to aerate and to rise a little bit. Let's put this over here. While we're waiting, we're going to mix up our yogurt and our strawberries. This is our lovely sauce. Let's put our yogurt in here, our big bowl. This is where we're going to do all the soaking of the little malpuras. So we need a little more room. In goes the yogurt. our strawberries. Look at those strawberries, succulent, and some sugar. Now let's mix all this in together, like so. What I like to do at this point is to take a few strawberries and crush them between my hands, like so. This allows the redness of the strawberries to pervade the yogurt and give it a bit more body, and makes a bit of a mess, but that won't take a second to clean up. Just rinse off my fingers, like so. Stir it up. This makes it look very attractive. Give it a bit of a fold in. Now we're going to put our yogurt aside, bring our batter back into the battering position over here. Take out our whisk, put him aside, and we're going to deep fry the batter in little balls in our clarified butter, in our ghee. For that, you'll need 2 spoons, 2 the same size, probably tablespoons are the best. And the ghee temperature should be warm enough so that when you put the donuts inside, they just sink down, float up to the surface, and sort of languish around a little bit and turn golden brown. I'll give you a demonstration now how to do that. Dip your spoons in the ghee like so. Shake them off a little more, I think. Take a spoonful of batter, pop him in, and continue on in quick succession about 6 to 8 of these little donuts. And try to avoid, as much as possible, dripping as you go. It's a little tricky, but the rounder the donuts, the better. But it is important to get them in there fast. Okay, I think that's enough. Now let's stir them around. Notice how they're swelling up like little donuts. That's exactly what they are. Okay, these are nice and golden now. I think we'll take them out. Let's bring our colander in. Looks like a nice batch of Malpuras here. And I think it looks like about 2 dozen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, that's wonderful. That's exactly what the recipe calls for. So let's turn off our ghee, remove our Malpuras, bring in our big bowl of yogurt, and guess what? Our Malpuras aren't going to fit in this bowl, but I do have another one right over here. Here's my bowl. Let's dump our Malpuras in there. Let's drown these little fellows, shall we, in our strawberry yogurt. Here it goes. Scrape out our bowl. These strawberries are so aromatic. Nothing like fresh strawberries. Fold in our yogurt with our Malpuras. Wow, look at that. That is really something. Takes your breath away. Strawberry Malpura. What a feast. Well, that's it for this edition of Cooking with Kurma. I do hope you've enjoyed preparing these dishes as much as I've enjoyed sharing them with you. Happy and healthy eating.